introduction on there, so you should be able to see my face in there, right? Red, orange, and yellow. So I make that point out just because that's literally the warmest thing inside the video at that point. It's white, hot, black, cold. We're looking for blue and black objects to move or take shape on their own. So when I say take shape, I'm looking for head, shoulders, moving arms and legs, if you're getting my point. Like I want almost like the full figure. Now, the cool thing about your video, do you see the blue dot that's bouncing around in there? I'll move the camera around. So that blue dot is showing you the coldest spot in the frame at that particular moment. So that's going to help guide your eye when you get your full video back. Now, though I always stare at the blue dot, not necessarily. Sometimes things show up and the camera person moved before we actually have the coldest spot on the entity that's actually trying to transform. So, or manifest is, I guess, the right term for you guys. So I'm looking for 15 plus degree temperature drops because sometimes, I mean, tonight's average temperature is about 68 degrees. So we're going to be looking for things for 53 degrees and colder. So we're going to be talking about different, ways to point this guy and how to actually interact with it as we kind of move through the space. But when you're operating it, make sure that you always hold it one-handed. Don't handle it by the camera. It will pop out of there. Again, it's just a phone attachment. So this is your start. I thought I heard some car doors over there, so just kind of be discreet.
But keep it at the ground.
We don't want to keep it at the ground. You can just keep it this way. So even, there you go, a little bit better. She's like, I want to view it. I want to just hold the damn thing all night. So this is the parking lot. Congratulations, you made it.
Cool.
This place used to be the Eliza and Charles Pinckney Mansion. So who the hell were these people? First off, I'm not going to be giving you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse, like what we did over there with the big red barn. I'm going to give you questions that you don't know the answers to, nor am I going to tell you until just before we leave the space. Hopefully you're going to get the answers from the spirit box. So who the heck were these people? They had a son named Charles, they had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 different Chucks, in case you weren't paying attention. That's why we look for secondary clues. I need to know which Charles is coming through, if it's indeed a Charles. So, anyway, the son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. That's a big deal for us, but I hate politics, and we're going to move on. Yeah. And I normally make the joke, like, I hate politics more than anybody. I do keep up with it, but I hate it. Like, I absolutely hate it. Anyway, let's give you the layout of the land before we get into Eliza's story, because that's who we're actually going to be discussing. So, the mansion was right here in the front of the space, facing East Bay Street. Eliza's garden was lined up with Five Church Restaurant over there and came all the way across. And the servant and slave quarters were in the back of the space. So that's kind of giving you the layout of the land. So who the heck was Eliza Pinckney? Let's get into that. She married Charles at a young age according to today's standards. I say today's standards because if you're going to ask her how old she was, you're not going to get numbers like 12 and 14 from the colonial times that she came from. Think of today's standards. And I say that because her husband, Charles, was over double her age when they married. So kind of a creepy age gap in the 1700s, definitely a creepy age gap now. Anyway, back to Eliza. She married him because her father was over in England. He thought he was dying. He's trying to bring all of his kids home one last time so he could see them. Eliza didn't believe he was dying, so she stayed put. Got married in 1744. You don't get married in that particular year to get a green card. We're not a country yet. So she didn't marry Charles out of love. There's no foul play. Don't poke the bear. But anyway, she was right. Dad didn't die right away. Instead, he starts sending her gifts from England to where we're standing now. One of those gifts happens to be the plant seeds of indigo. Yeah, you know what indigo is. Yep. So, indigo is a plant that makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. That's how we use it today.
You know how much I love jeans.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was like, where's the connection?
There's a big connection. So, indigo was actually introduced into the Charleston area from our Gullah culture. So, with that particular, I mean, it was already here, but Eliza wanted to capitalize on it. So here's how this goes. She gets the seeds. She doesn't know what to do with them. She learns from her servants and slaves on how to keep it cultivated. It's obviously not warm down here all the time. When she figures it out, learns how to make the dye, she moves it to a cash crop plantation down by the Stono River. Gets a hold of her dad and says, you know what, the rice plantations are going downhill. We're going to make a killing with the indigo. And now we have an international businesswoman during colonial times, which is something absolutely unheard of. Welcome to Women's History Month with Nick. So, again, we're going to be talking about quite a few strong females tonight. But anyway, let's get into the weird shit, because that's the boring business stuff of Eliza. We're going to get into the weird stuff. So we're using 2 different types of communication devices. Have you heard anything yet? I know I've been talking a lot.
No, you're fine.
Okay, it's okay. We're going to go straight into Eliza's death. So, with the questions that we're going to be asking, we're going to go directly wrapped around her death. So she's usually pretty open about that. This is normally a space that I, was looking to retire. Just so you know, like, people were getting pretty nasty with some of the ghost hunters that I was bringing here. Good job. I was getting disrespectful people that would come on my tours.
Oh.
Which is exactly why the prices of my tickets are the way that they are, to keep them out.
Yeah.
And I was getting very nasty, disembodied messages through those spirit boxes. Like, please just leave us alone, and those kind of things. Because I get people in here like, yo, Eliza, what's up? Kind of like, that's not the way you handle a prominent English woman from colonial times. That's just not how that goes. So this is a space where we're going to be brief, and hopefully you're going to hear a few things and get used to it. This place is super active. So is it active every single night? Most nights. The average, let me explain what this guy's actually going to do for us. So that little K2 meter and this guy, like I said, are the exact same thing. If I were to put this guy behind my TV, it's going to read about 40 to 60 milligauss. The average spike for this location, and I say spike because that's a height, is 18 to 22. That's high. The Earth gives off a natural EMF of up to 1.1, so that's why I go straight to 2.5. That's the first blinky light on the one that I didn't bring out of the bag. So your microwave runs about 150 to 170. I've seen this guy go all the way up to 214 here. Like, that's the time where we leave. If it hits like triple digits, like 200, we're out of here.
Yeah, okay.
Up to 150 to 170, I think I'm okay. I'm just going to gauge how I'm feeling, how whoever the user is feeling, that kind of thing. But the average, and 18 to 22 is super high for most locations, just so you know. But that is a normal average for this space, and there's no electricity here. So kind of keep that in mind. So you can see where people are kind of looking at us funny already. So with this one, I already seen a 2.5. I normally go to a 2.5 as an absolute base. So we're not going to, I'm going to be writing down 2.5, and anything higher than that, I'm going to escalate the numbers. So I will kind of shout them out as we're going to take basically 2 laps around here and kind of see what happens. Make sure you're getting used to your device and see if you have any anomalies that show up on yours. I will also tell you that this is a space that I come to every night before a tour because I want to let Eliza know how many people I'm bringing. Like, it's just a matter of respect. Again, I was going to retire it, but it keeps pulling me back in because there's so much that actually goes on here. So let's take a few laps unless you've heard something you want to tell me.
I'm hearing clear things, but it's like I'll hear it clear and then it'll go. One of the clearer ones I heard was a commercial, I think, for a doctor. But like actual stuff, like.
So when it comes about, just shout it out. But I do want to ask you guys a question. You guys remember where Big John got shot on his body?
Oh,
It was
neck,
neck, right?
We were about Big John's when that popped up. Just that's the kind of stuff that I'm looking for.
Okay.
So
That's actually pretty cool. Okay.
I want to also tell you, like, this is also a space of bleed over. What do I mean by bleed over? We're 1 block away from Big John's. We could have been getting things from the Pinckneys on your end over there, and we could be getting things from Big John's over here. They will bleed over, even though they're 2 different centuries, so it doesn't matter. We will get things vice versa. So again, I will let you know when there's going to be bleed over in the spaces. This is one of them. So again, it does occur back and forth, so we'll kind of see what we get out of it. I'm just super interested in the fact that I haven't had anything above a 2.5 so far. Normally I have at least a 6 or a 7. It's usually when I'm bringing up, you know, things about Eliza and talking about her. We normally, oh, there's my 8. Look at that. Oh, this is why they call it ghost hunting. It doesn't stay on that number. So it went up to 8 and it goes up. So we have a 2.5 and an 8. So right now the baseline is 8. I'm going to keep making it go up. So let's make a few laps. Let's see what we can get out of it, and then we'll end over here, and I'll give you all the answers. What's going on. So, take it slow, Paige. It's okay. I need you to listen. Focus. You're ghost hunting. Ghost hunting takes patience. We're just not going to go between cars. We're going to make a left. Like, just basically make sure. Eliza, I want you to tell us how old you were when you passed away with mine. There's another 8. First, we're going to stay away from that car because somebody's in it. I don't know if you guys heard it running or not. No matter how silly you think it is, shout it out.
Okay.
So what have you got so far?
I can't really make it out right now.
Okay. about your death, how old you were. You know the questions I ask. You know how all these boxes work. This is NIJAH and Ben with me. 7.3. What was it?
Some Glorilla.
How was
I
that?
recognize that as a rapper.
Oh.
It's her.
So also remember, it's not about who you hear, it's the where.
Here, take a listen and tell me if you what you hear. Yeah. Tell me. Was it 23.com?
You're at
Kind
23?
of a lot of static, yeah.
Maybe 23.
I think it was 23.
History.
It's not easy, is it,
Yeah,
guys?
it's kind of.
It's not like it's cool to try to touch it there.
Joe.
Chevy, yeah, Joe.
You heard Doctor earlier too, didn't you?
It was a commercial
That's
for a
interesting.
doctor. Or it sounded like a commercial for a doctor. Golf girl. I heard that.
Well, I got nothing going on over here. Let's walk slowly towards the other wall where
Okay.
we started and kind of see if I get any
Cool.
readings going across a lot.
It's cool.
People in their cars make me a little nervous because they get really
Oh, that's
yeah. Come on, Elijah. So I'm going to tell you, just a few nights ago, this thing was over 100.
Oh.
And then we had like a 70 the night after.
Yeah.
And oh, there's an 11.7. Seems like everything's happening over here. 11.7, 9.2. I'll take the 9.2 because that's pretty decent. And I also have to look at our diversity. We have to remember who we're dealing with here. She was a plantation owner. Do you see where I'm going?
Yeah, okay.
So, again, it's not anything derogatory.
Uh-huh.
It's the facts.
Yeah.
You know, this is a woman that owned
Yeah.
slaves.
Okay.
So, again, when I bring people of color in here,
Yeah.
I've seen it. I sometimes will point it out, but other times I know it's because of we didn't have a whole lot of activity because of who and why we were dealing with things.
Okay.
So I have a big phrase that I say, know your ghost.
Yeah.
So it's one of those pieces where I know this ghost because I've been
Yeah.
coming here for 4 years. And again, small readings like 9 and 11s, it's nothing to sneeze at, but it's not what I was expecting.
Yeah.
I was expecting 18 to 22s. You're not getting a whole lot. You haven't really, you know, the 23 is close, but it's a no cigar
Yeah.
kind of thing. And I'm going to go over the answers where it's going to make a whole lot of sense. So again, with the diversity of our group, I think I'm going to cut this one short so we can actually move on. The weird thing is you heard two terms that are relevant to our next space, which to me, I wouldn't normally count it
Yeah.
because we're probably a good block to 2 blocks away from it. I wouldn't normally hear that over here. So I'm kind of like, okay, what else is going on?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to tell you that story until we get into the
Okay,
space.
cool.
So, and then it'll make a whole lot more sense when I start telling you. So let me kind of take another look at this guy, just to make sure nothing's coming up. Reagan? Really? Like, wow. Okay. Yeah. Nothing on there. So let me break out the tablet and we'll go over the answers of a little bit more history so you kind of know what I look for when I'm going through your data in the morning. But again, I don't want you to like think, oh my gosh, we're dealing with a slave owner. We didn't get anything because of that. And again, there's really no record of how she treated her folks either. Some fiction tales will tell you she was super pleasant. But let's be honest. She's a plantation. Right? So. All right. So the woman we're trying to hunt down. This is Eliza Lucas Pinckney. I use her maiden name because this is the second wife named Eliza from Charles back to back. The first wife, so it was either a smart move or a jerk move, depending on how you look at it. The first wife also had a maiden name that started with the letter L, and sometimes we'll get her maiden name. Her maiden name was Lamb, so Lamb and Lucas will show up here from time to time. This wife married Charles at the age of 22. He was 45. Creepy age gap for me, because I'm close to Chuck's age, and my oldest daughter is Eliza's age at that point in time. Yeah, so definitely a creepy age gap. That's how I look at it.
Hilarious.
So the mansion, we didn't get into that like I normally throw out. Like when I have all my spirit boxes at work, I give everybody a series of questions. So I'm kind of going through those so you have a better gist. This is the only picture of the mansion we have after, like this is it. This is exactly where you're standing. This is after the Great Fire of 1861. If we get something along the words like fire, burning, blaze, we will normally get 2 or 3 digits from the date as well. That happened on December 11th of 1861. So notice that they're very specific numbers. By the way, if you want to give your hands a break, go ahead and stop your video. Again, if you want to basically keep it as steady as possible, just shooting down the alley. Holy cow, how did I not see that possible?
Do your feet hurt? You know my feet don't hurt.
Is that what it said?
Yeah. It said, do your feet hurt? No, my feet don't hurt, but this, it will, I'm sure.
Interesting. Hang on. Just kind of keep it steady. I'll let you know if another tour group's coming up behind you, kind of thing. Or obviously you're going to see them ahead of you. This used to be called Dueler's Alley. So this is where some of the duels used to occur. We're not going to spread out in here like what we were walking around down there with. Only we're here to stir shit up. I'm looking for the bleed over into the next space because again, this is very popular. And again, I don't like to work around 20 to 60 other people while we're in here. So let's kind of get into it. We all tell the same story down here, but you're going to get different details because this isn't a campfire marshmallow type of story.
Cool.
So let's get into it. Doctor moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Dr. Joseph Brown Ladd. If she hears brown-eyed girl while we're down here, it's not coincidence, just so you know. Anyway, we get it all the time. He moves down here because he's supposed to get married to his fiancée, Amanda. Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. She has an attorney helping her out with all of this cash. The attorney thinks that Dr. Ladd is just after her money. So he tells Amanda, get rid of the doctor. Dr. Ladd comes to Charleston to prove that he's not after her money. As he's coming into town, the coachman bringing him in set him up to be robbed and killed. It wasn't a good start to his, stay in Charleston. Somebody was walking by. His name was Ralph Isaacs. I'm going to stop on Ralph for a second because you're ghost hunting. Ralph has the same initials as where the doctor came from, R.I. We were getting R.I. all the time on spirit boxes, so I have a digital Ouija board now to where we use it on the tours. It doesn't always give us R.I., but we have had it a few times since I bought it. So, again, super fun to play with, but it doesn't give me as much information as that does. So anyway, Ralph tells the doctor, dude, you don't want to stay here. I know this guy. He's going to try to kill you. Come with me. 59 Church Street. You can rent a room from some friends of mine, and you'll be safe and good to go. He took him up on the offer. They became friends. Dr. Ladd, the longer he stays here, the more money he's making. He's proving his point. He's not after Amanda's money. Amanda gets wind of this, and she's moving down so that way they can get married. Dr. Ladd became known as the Whistling Doctor. Here's what I'm going to point out. Every haunted city you're ever going to visit has a cliched whistling ghost. We all have one. But there's proof of this one, and I'm going to get to that. So, him and Ralph go see plays together. They can't sit next to each other because the doctor makes more money. That's just the way the hierarchy works. They're arguing over the new actress that was in town on their way home, because remember, they couldn't sit next to each other. They were arguing. The doctor thought she was great. Ralph didn't. The argument turns into insults onto the doctor's fiance from Ralph. It gets very ugly, and they go their separate ways. So, from there, I told you Ralph actually has friends around town. He goes to his friends at the newspaper, and he tells them that he wants to place an ad, and he's telling the whole city of Charleston what a disgrace to society the doctor is. It's basically his own thoughts. Doctor saw the ad, he rebuttals with, let's go to Dueler's Alley and settle this. So they came down, they took their 10 paces, they turned, the doctor pointed his gun in the air, and he shot. He didn't want to kill his friend, he just wanted to have the courage and bravery to show up to the fight. However, Ralph has his one bullet. That bullet goes into the kneecap on the doctor. He didn't die either, but Ralph proved his point that he's still pissed off. The doctor falls to the ground, his friends picked him up, carried him home to 59 Church Street, where he dies 10 days later. He also refused medical treatment during those 10 days. You also have to remember, this is 1786, if I didn't bring up the year already. Gunshot wounds back then were not what gunshot wounds are today. He probably tried to bleed out the lead poisoning himself, because he is, in fact, a doctor. So, again, they say as you walk through the alley, you can hear the whistles from the doctor. Now, you don't have to stand around and listen and wait for him, because you're using my voice recorder right now. It's already running. So when, you guys go back through your audio, if you hear a whistle in the background, just let me know and I'll take a look at it. However, keep in mind, if you're going to do this on your own, especially now that you live here, keep in mind to turn on your voice recorders as you walk through the alley, but all the locals know the story. So anybody walking up and down Cumberland or Queen Street throws a whistle down the alley. I do it every single night. So I have to pass the alley to get back to my car. Speaking of which, where did you guys park?
My dad dropped us, and we were at Pearl's, but I'm not sure where he is now.
Okay.
So we were only like 6 minutes away.
We're gonna end at Washington Park in St. Michael's area.
Cool.
So again, yeah. So, and I'll let you. I don't time this, by the way. We just go until like a space last time. I would have normally spent another 5 to 7 minutes there with more people, but again, given our situation, I was like, it's time to call it. That's again, I'm not like, oh, we gotta go.
Yeah.
But do you hear how quiet it is right now with that thing stopping? Yes.
She said another tour is coming.
Okay, cool. But anyway, it's always this quiet down here, aside from that air conditioner. So even on a Saturday afternoon, it's always this quiet. That's why they say you can hear the whistles down here. Do I have proof of some of them? I do. And again, it's not going to be it's not a normal whistle. It's an actual, a little bit of a tune, and it's like fainted wind in the background. So that's what you're listening for when you go through your audio. We've also gotten the word whistle. We've also had whistling parts of songs show up on spirit boxes while we've been down here.
Okay.
It's very interesting, some of the things that I've gotten down here. It's not always usually a direct thing, but we will get those indirect pieces from time to time. That little Ouija board device like I was telling you about we used that last night, and the young lady noticed the minute I introduced Amanda into the story, she had the letter A show up. The minute I said whistling, the letter W showed up. And then we had the same thing happen at our last space with that particular location. So it's just very interesting, like an indirect, okay, I'll take it because it happened in 2 different spaces, 3 different times. So again, I'm kind of like, okay, maybe there's something going on with it. Maybe something else for me to pay attention to. So here's how I got booted out of here. This is the fun part of the story. So this alley didn't always go all the way through. It was actually cut off between us and Cumberland Street. And that's the reason for that is because this is where they kept the livestock. It was called Cow Alley back then. This was before Dueler's Alley. So the bricks on that side are sun-dried bricks from slave children. There's a full handprint from a slave in one of those bricks down there, and I used to take my groups all the way through to show off that handprint. Again, not caring about my diversity, it's we all need to see it to show how far we've come. However, everybody wants to huddle around the brick and see what happens.
Yep.
I treat that brick the same way I do a grave. That kid's not staring at that brick in the afterlife.
Yeah.
November 26th of 2020, full group of 10, they're all huddled around that brick. I'm trying to shoo them along for my own reasons, but it's also because it's outside the kitchen window of the beautiful mansion at the end of the alley. So I'm just trying to be respectful, not realizing I'm out of bounds. So again, I'm not allowed in residential areas. I was new at this. So I moved them along because the new owner came out screaming. I moved along, and then the next day was Thanksgiving. I don't tour on Thanksgiving. I worked in retail management for over 20 years, mainly for Walmart. I don't work Thanksgiving. The next day was the 28th of November, another full group, and I talked to my partner at the time, and I told him what happened. He said, you got to reroute or only go down halfway. So find something new. So I decided I'm going to reroute the group. I still told him the story outside the alley, so that way I just stayed away. and didn't cause any more commotion.
Yeah.
But I told that group, I don't believe in the next story because I'm a vampire guy. I'm not a pirate person. Like, it's just not my bag.
Yeah.
So I was like, we're going to see what happens. I've never had anything happen there, but let's wing it and see what goes on. Before we left, somebody heard the name Anne on the spirit box. I didn't tell them who we were going to be investigating.
Yeah.
We were going to be investigating the famous female pirate Anne Bonny,
Ooh.
which is where we're going to next. So I was like, all right, maybe we do have something going on. We get down there, I told them what little bit I did know about pirates. Somebody else heard the number 300. So I don't know what that means. I'm going to write it down. I researched it the next day.
Yeah.
We were there on November 28th of 2020. Anne Bonny's trial for piracy, November 28th of 1720. We were there on the exact 300-year anniversary of her pirate trial. So I went, shit, now I got to research pirates. So pirates, I want you to keep in mind, is pirate lore.
Okay.
So with pirate lore, and with it being myths and legends and all of that whatnot, I literally went through, I don't know, dozens of references trying to make sure what we're going to be discussing is as factual as I can possibly make it. So again, you have to remember what I do is real.
Yeah.
So dealing with pirate lore, and I'll let you know what some of the pieces are. And it's a very romantic story. Like, it is a very exuberant, like, it's very elaborate. And it is a crazy female swashbuckling pirate. So it is a lot of fun. And it is a hit or miss location. We're either going to have a lot of shit going on or nothing going on. So the cool thing about that, like I'm just thinking about it because of, you know, the diversity piece at the Pinckney Mansion site. I want you to keep in mind that most pirates were black.
Yeah.
And with that, that's because, let's face it, slaves were cargo. What are pirates stealing? Cargo. So it was an offer. You can come be part of the ship and send money back home to your wife and children, or we can send you to the Americas where you're going to be a slave. More than likely, they're going to take the pirate deal. So again, we have had the term African American show up there a lot, and the term slave. It's very interesting how this actually comes about.
Okay.
So I think this is the first time I've actually ever like paid attention to like where we're going with this because of our small diverse group. I don't know that I've ever had such a small diverse group like this. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've had African Americans on my tour. It's just normally not just me and them.
Yeah.
So again, I'm just being cognizant of what is going on around us. So kind of keep that in mind. Anything that you've heard that I need to know about?
I've heard cancer, illness, doctor again.
Another doctor.
He's cool.
Wow. So that is a 2 times doctor that showed up.
That's cool.
Anything else that you may have heard? EMF readings here are pretty standard, between 5 and 7, just so you know. I don't normally super focus on this. We don't get a whole lot of activity out of this guy here. Anything that you may have seen on there?
I thought I got something, but I think it was just getting the sky a little bit.
Okay.
See, like right there. Yeah.
So normally with this one, I would be looking for somebody in blue walking right towards you. Like, that's what I would be looking for. Or some kind of strange anomaly walking across kind of thing. So that's what I look for when I'm in this alley and you have a straight shot like that. So I would go ahead and pause it, give your hands a break again. That little building is the gunpowder magazine with the crosses on it. Those are not crosses, by the way. Those are earthquake bolts. Are you familiar with earthquake bolts? You're from here and you don't know what the hell earthquake bolts are? All right, you're going to know, because you need to know, especially since you live here. So earthquake bolts are basically turnbuckles. So if we have another earthquake, like what I mentioned at the top of the tour in 1886, you can tighten them. There's bolts on the end of them. You can tighten them, and it's going to basically hold the building together so it doesn't incur any further damage. They're all over town. Like pineapples, lion heads, all kinds of bullshit from the Charleston Charm. But those in particular are there because that was the first set of earthquake bolts that Charleston ever put in, which is why we're here. So, and by the way, even the apartment building behind it has little peach squares on every floor. Those are earthquake bolts. By the way, that's a great idea. It just doesn't work. It's just part of our charm. It's just something we put on all of our buildings. Yeah, it's just what we do. And Californians, when I get them, they laugh their asses off at me because they know that they don't work because they're from California. But you're going to see once we get closer to that building that they're pretty crude. But this building, this is what I call a familiar. If you watch the TV shows, you know they use a teddy bear to attract a child ghost, right? So that's a familiar item. This is a familiar building to Anne Bonny because she was coming here at the same time that this building was being constructed. So the building took 10 years to build. Does that sound like our government? Small building, 10 years? No, not at all. I'll answer for you. 1708, right in the middle of its construction, is where the story begins. Try to follow me. There's a lot of twists. We're talking a crazy pirate chick, so let's get into it. 1708, young lady moves here from Ireland. Her name is Anne Cormac. She comes here with her father and his mistress. The mistress is Anne's mother. Are you with me so far?
Okay, yeah.
Got that, Ben? Cool.
Okay.
The three of them are running away from her father's angry wife.
Oh, okay.
Get it?
I see.
Yeah, so I have to slow down on those to kind of make sure everybody gets it.
Good.
Yeah, so they land. By the way, how mad was she that she had to leave the country by boat? Because there's no planes in 1708. Yeah, to come here. They land in Georgetown. That's just north of here, between us and Myrtle Beach, in case you're unfamiliar. It's about an hour and a half from here by drive. Dad bought a plantation. Mom died pretty quickly. That means Dad is sending young Anne down here to sell anything from the plantation to help keep things afloat, which is where the familiar building comes into play. Anne is said to be seen all over town. We're hoping that she's going to be here in the same time frame that we're going to be here. Like, that's the hope. That's why it's a hit or miss, because she's said to be seen in other parts of town that have buildings relatively close to this age. Keep in mind that is the oldest government building in South Carolina, finished in 1713. So back to Anne. What's that?
It's like I see it.
Yeah, it's definitely got a weird construction to it. There's a lot of I'm actually fascinated with the architecture of that building. So do you see how the roof is shaped all weird?
Yeah.
There's sand underneath those shingles, because if there were an attack on gunpowder from the water, it's supposed to blow up the sand in the air and then fall to put out the fire of the gunpowder.
Oh.
That's why it's designed like that. However, that's another idea that doesn't
that's
work.
Not gonna work, but it sounds hella cool.
Yeah, the sand is actually still there. When they turned this into a museum, because that's what it is now, they did some repairs. So they went and they actually lifted up some of the shingles to repair them, and they realized that the original sand from 1710 to 1712 is actually still there. Sand does not disintegrate.
Oh, I got tornadoes, maybe because we were talking about
well, the tornado. There was
disasters.
Tornadoes in Mississippi today, like ripped cities
Yeah,
apart.
they were. My grandma lives there. That's pretty sad.
There were 25 deaths down there today.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't say, did you check on Grandma?
I checked on her. She's in
Okay.
McGee.
Yeah, you just casually said.
You're lucky I listened to the news.
Her.
But at any rate, Anne back home in Ireland was said to be a badass even then. They say she killed one of her servants with a knife to the belly when Anne was only 7, 8, 9 years old. Remember, it's pirate lore. No numbers are going to be exact.
Yeah.
So just want to put the mentality of this young lady in your heads as we kind of move through her story. Fast forward. Building's done in 1713. By 1715, 2 years after that, pirates are coming through Charlestown. Anne is stoked because she's going to fall in love, so she can earn her freedom just like a man. It's a man's world at this point, by the way. Ladies don't have any rights to do shit. So, first guy, and yes, I said first because there's a handful. She is a player, like we said. So, first guy is James Bonney. You already see where this one's going because we already mentioned her pirate name. Dad didn't approve. He's a filthy pirate. They run away to Jamaica and they get married. And Cormac became Anne Bonney. However, when she gets down there, she realized her new husband, Bonnie, is not Captain Jack Sparrow like she was hoping for. This guy turns out to be a privateer. He's a spy for the British. This is not who she wants. He's a coward. Yeah, so a few years later, she falls in love again. This is John Rackham, a.k.a. Calico Jack. This is the guy they based your Johnny Depp character off of, just so you know who we're talking about, yes. So, Calico Jack has his own ship and wants to be part of the crew. You can't put a girl on a pirate crew. I would normally ask the crowd, just to make sure they're paying attention, like, do you know why you can't put a girl on a pirate crew? But I get some really rude answers to that. And on this very family-friendly event. Yeah. So the real reason for that is because it's bad luck.
Wow.
Yeah, keep it simple, right? Just like is anybody here from the Ouija board? Keep it simple. Some people overthink things. But at any rate, so he makes a deal with her. If you dress like a guy and look like my crew, you can be part of it, but you're going to be a female in my quarters. She's okay with this cross-dressing because Dad used to dress her up as a boy apprentice back home in Ireland to hide her from his wife. So she gets it, let's do this. Let's put two and two together. She's a female in his quarters. She's eventually going to get pregnant. You can't have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. Somebody's going to figure it out, and then they're going to vote Jack off the ship. Jack decides, before she starts to show her pregnancy, he's going to drop her from Cuba. Have the baby here, come back later, and we'll figure it out. She has the baby, returns with no baby. We have no idea what happens to this child. The irony of this whole part of the story is she comes back dressed as a female. This makes Jack pretty angry, because now everybody's going to know he let a girl on the crew. And while she was away giving birth, he captured another pirate crew. They're down below deck. She's going to go flirting, because that's who Anne is. We're on guy number 3, in case you lost track. Guy number 3 turns out to be a female, dressed like a guy to be part of the pirate crew that Calico Jack captured. So now we have 2 females, dressed like males, on the same ship. Her name is Mary Reed. She went by Mark Reed to become a pirate. So we do get either one of those names that pop up. So they became lovers, possibly, we'll never really know. Friends for sure. The British find out where they are. They send an entire fleet of ships to take down one pirate ship. Rumor is Anne and Mary were the only two pirates not drunk enough to come up and fight with one bullet flintlock guns. So again, two flintlocks are not going to take on a fleet of ships. They get arrested. As they're being arrested, she looks at her bow and captain, Calico Jack, and she says, "I'm sorry to see you here, but if you would have fought like a man, you wouldn't be hanged like a dog." The word dog shows up a lot, just so you know. Anyways, the judge wants to see the two quote-unquote men that fought back so violently on their own. So he's already tried and hung Calico Jack and the drunk pirates that wouldn't fight, so they're dead and gone. Anne and Mary go in front, trying to save themselves. They reveal their gender. He doesn't care that they're female. He's still going to hang them. So keep in mind there are people behind you, and they're kind of watching us right now. So he doesn't give a shit. He's going to hang them anyway. "We plead our bellies" was the last thing they shouted out, because you can't hang a pregnant woman during 1720. Right. So with that, he sends them both back to jail and delays the hanging. Dad is still up here in South Carolina with all of his Irish money. He bails out Anne, brings her home. She remarries. That's husband number 2, but guy number 4. She has 4 kids, dies at the age of 84. That's all we know about her after her pirate
lived
career.
a long, adventurous life.
Especially during colonial times.
Yeah.
Mary Read dies a year later, actually it's just a handful of months later, in that Jamaican jail from whatever pirates die from in a Jamaican jail. Use your imagination. Most books would tell you that it was something very simple, like fever. I'm going to say bullshit. It was probably romantic, like scurvy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're talking pirates here. Let's really dive in.
Yeah, that's
The only
true.
2 questions I left out for you, the name of Anne Bonny's parents, I didn't give you, and I also didn't give you the name of Calico Jack's ship either. So what we're going to do is we're going to get up there close to that wall and be mindful of the vehicles. This is, again, know your ghost. This is not a prominent English woman that we need to tiptoe around.
Okay.
So again, I'll poke the bear a little bit to see if we can get some kind of answers. But yeah, if you want to have a seat, dude, go for it. And that way you can have a nice still shot of the lot, so if anything comes up, then we'll definitely see it.
Okay, cool.
The word "away" just showed up, and I'm not taking that as anything. It's too vague. So you just shout out whatever you're hearing, and we'll kind of take things from there. Steady too. Not exciting at all. Come on, Ann. Tell us the names of your parents. If Calico Jack is here, tell us the name of your ship. What do you got? I seen that head nod.
Nothing. It's just like it's like more staticky since we came over here,
Okay.
which is funny because I really want to know the names.
I'm going to give them to you before we leave, of course, but I want you to hear them first. And what was the exact phrase that you heard earlier? Girl is player?
Oh, girls is players too.
Players too. Divided.
Here, let me let you listen to this in case
Yeah.
you listen good.
Give her a helping hand there, buddy. She's struggling.
I am.
It's okay. I told you, you're going to suck at this at the beginning. You get better at it. And when you use your own, like, earbuds, AirPods, whatever, it's much easier. Those are cheap earbuds. How is it that there is
Extremely good.
nothing at all coming through?
No, I swear
It's
it's
just like, yeah, it's kind of static.
yeah, it's just like, yeah.
And this is why I go through it in the morning. because you watch all
Yeah.
the things that I'll find in there.
That you'll find like in it.
Yeah. And again, even if it's not relevant and it's just a weird phrase, sometimes it's relevant to you. That's why I give it back to you and it goes in your notes, because I don't know what it is. It's just a weird thing I heard on the radio.
Oh, nice beat.
Taylor?
Taylor Smith
Yeah.
or Taylor Swift.
Swift.
It's possible.
Taylor
It's
Swift.
possible.
It's Taylor Swift. I think. Shout out to Taylor Swift. I like her. Website.
Definitely not it.
Yeah.
Not at
Pirate
all.
term. Come on, Anne, give us something before we leave this space. I do have the word divided, by the way, which is interesting.
Totalitarian U.S.
Also said US.
What you drinking? I'm not drinking anything.
We're drinking rum. Big old barrels of it.
What did she say?
I don't know. I don't know if it was pregnant or if
That's-
she was
that's what I was
saying. That's
thinking.
what you were thinking.
It's
pregnant.
always your first instinct. So what's
Pregnant?
the pregnant?
Yeah.
It's always your first instinct. Again, don't look for things.
Yeah.
Just let it happen.
I thought that's what. Yeah, I thought that's what she said.
Pregnant.
Yeah, just
She
let it
sounded
happen.
nice.
It was like,
And then maybe you want to tell us how many children you had. Walk on Saturday night.
all that love good.
Huh?
I said I heard all that love good. I might go on to the player part.
Well, normally we will get like lovers and things like that will pop up at this location too.
He's like gross.
Yeah.
What'd you call
What'd you call him?
Gross.
Gross. Okay.
Yeah.
Still not something you normally hear on the radio. I'm writing it down.
No. So,
So.
I just like he was talking to us for a second.
Yeah, it sounded like somebody was
The whole
beside us.
conversation they were talking.
Yeah, that was like super clear.
Love. I heard love there.
Yeah.
Social
Social
services.
services.
Wow. It's kind of a stretch.
Therapy. They're like, y'all need help.
I think Anne was one that needed help. You're getting
Military
better.
unit.
Military unit. I mean, we're standing next to a gunpowder magazine
Yeah.
that served in 7 different wars. So we have gotten things wrapped around the powder magazine itself. So when I get psychics here, they normally see a soldier standing there. And they always give me the same description.
Really?
It's blue pants, white shirt.
Oh.
Like somebody's almost like an off-duty.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty neat.
And that's happened at least 3 or 4 times from different
Wow.
psychics. That's how I know, like, they're legit.
Yeah, like actually.
Yeah, because there's no way they're going to go through all my data and
Yeah.
evidence to find the one time that a psychic was
Yeah.
here. Say, where did they from? I'm going to write down military unit and give you guys another minute before I give the answers. Because you're getting better.
Cool.
But nothing is screaming so far besides Anne playing games with girls are players too and being pregnant. We need more than that.
Jamaican?
Did you hear Jamaican?
No.
They went to Jamaica to get married. Okay, now we're getting somewhere.
Much judgment, right? I'm not judging nobody.
Well, you have to remember she went before a judge.
Oh, yeah.
So hopefully the name of the judge will show up. because that's happened here a lot too.
Really?
Told you, I've been doing this for 4 years at the same locations. Who knows? Maybe it's already come up on mine.
Half a wood smoke, what?
What do you think it was, Ben?
CSH? What?
Oh, I know what that is.
Yeah. CSH. She was spelling it out.
They did it twice.
No, it was initials.
Oh, okay, cool. That's actually pretty cool.
And the C isn't relevant. It's just the SH.
Okay.
All right. So that's what we're gonna call it.
Okay,
So,
cool.
Go ahead.
That's
Let's get into it. First, I want to explain the SH because again, this corner, all the tours come up here because there's like 15 ghost stories. So one of the stories that they normally tell when people on a ghost tour, it ends at St. Philip's because they tell you the story of Sue Howard Hardy, SHH. So the whole point of Sue Howard Hardy is that somebody actually does. So like a super tall bald guy got it. But anyway, I'm trying to remember the years now because I haven't told the story in a minute. We haven't had anything from her in a while. But anyway, this is 1887. I know that's the year exactly. I can't remember it. But anyway, somebody took a picture over there and caught a full apparition. It was just a photographer. He wasn't looking for anything. He
he
just found it. So please don't touch the picture. It is cursed to females.
Okay.
The woman actually lost her child and she died. God, how many days was it after? It was like a week after. I'll just give you that. I can't remember the exact days because I haven't told the story in a long time. So she died of heartbreak, basically. So 99 years later, to the day, photographers taking pictures of all the cemeteries, and he takes this photograph and he captures this apparition of a woman wearing a shawl, and it's over her grave. Like, that's Sue's grave right there. I want you to take note of the baby basket next to her.
Yeah.
He sends this picture off to Kodak to try to get it authenticated, or at least, get something about it. And the only thing Kodak can do is say that it is a legitimate photograph that you've taken with the camera that you said you've taken it with, and it has not been altered. When you look up top 50 apparitions caught, that's usually in the top 50. But we do have their initials. So I will give you the link to that. But again, the link I'm going to give you is going to have that photograph in it. Do not handle it on your phone.
Okay.
They say even in a digital format, women can get the same symptoms we talked about at the beginning. So because of the nature of the photograph, the pregnant female. Oh, I didn't go over the answers for Android.
Look it on at my phone.
Yeah,
So you can look at it on a computer screen or things like that. But even in a digital on your phone or tablet, you're still handling the picture. So obviously he'll be able to show it to you.
So not your laptop either.
Yeah.
No,
So
not my laptop.
It'll give you the story of like the whole thing.
Okay.
Let's get into Anne Bonny. So one of the few pictures you can find of this lady with a shirt on. By the way, I get a lot of teenage boys on this tour. I don't need angry moms leaving because I'm showing a topless woman. And the reason for that is because she used to bare her breast to show men that they were just killed by a woman. Like, because remember, she's dressed like a guy. The names of her parents: William Cormack, Mary Brennan.
Okay.
So again, it wasn't another subliminal trick with the Mary, because we did have Mary Reed from the ship. It just so happens we have two different Marys, and that whole scandal is another 30-minute story that I don't go into because we don't get a whole lot of evidence other than Anne telling us what her parents' names are. The interesting thing about the parents' names showing up, it normally comes from one spirit box. So you would have heard the phrase William and Mary.
Oh.
And because it's usually coming from one person, I find that more often than not. I always like to show you what Calico Jack looked like because everybody wants to see what they base Johnny Depp off of. So this is Calico Jack. He's named that as far as his Calico Jack because of the jackets he wore. These came from British captains that he killed. His father was a tailor. Textiles were important. So Calico Jack basically translates to fancy jacket. That's where the name comes from. The name of his ship, yeah, he is very fancy. But the name of his ship was called the Kingston. I don't expect the word Kingston to come through our radio stations, but if you heard the word King, that would actually suffice for where we're at and the questions that we're asking. So, I mean, you have to remember, I'm out here 7 nights a week. These ghosts know what we're looking for. So even though we weren't asking like specifically, like out loud, they know what I'm looking for. So again, half the time my name shows up, and especially in this location, because there's 3 different nicks relative to this space. Me, obviously, is number 1. The second one is the judge. His name was Nicholas as well. His last name was Laws. Of all things for a judge to be named, it's Laws.
Perfect.
And then the last one is because of the Nicholas Trot House is on the other side of the powder magazine. So again, we will get that secondary clue to verify which Nick it is. Usually it's not me, but unless it's you hear hello and then Nick, then it's somebody referring to me directly. But yeah, we'll get that Nicholas that'll show up here all the time. I also like to tell you before we leave the space, you can stand up and stretch because I know I had you guys sitting on hard bricks. A year ago this past September, this is another reason why I get that heated warning at the beginning. I brought my team to the back just like where we were so the other tours can pass through. Keep in mind it's September, so very similar temperatures. The kid next to me goes white as a ghost. We call him a kid because he was probably 21, 22 years old. He's about to pass out. I have to pick him up by his armpit to stop him from hitting his head on the ground. And yeah, his boyfriend picked him up from the other side of him. We brought him over here, got him a bottle of water, and I then told them the story that I told you about Aunt Bonnie. This used to be my last stop. So I'd say, all right, everybody go spread out. And I would tell the Sue Howard Hardy story, so I'd have people across the street and whatnot. These 2 guys pull me aside and say, Nick, we have to tell you something. We are 2 transgender males. I had 2 females dressed like males on the tour.
Wow.
Just like Anne and Marian's story.
Yeah, that's interesting.
This is the weird shit that I see that I can't explain, but it does make sense.
Wow,
and it
that
was
connection.
the minute that we entered the space, this kid started to drop like a wet noodle.
Wow.
So, again, psychics and mediums normally won't make it past the Pinckney Mansion site because of the type of EMF. I also try not to give them a spirit box. I did have a self-proclaimed empathic sensitive on the tour last night. She actually did pretty well with it. We also did the Estes method with her. Are you guys familiar with the Estes method at all? And you can stop that, kind of give your hands a break. Again, it may take us a few minutes for him to warm up to us. This is where we'll do the Estes method, where I give everybody that brief history, and then I have a blindfolded person sitting on that bench, and we go ask questions. Let me show you this blood book, because once you see it, it's a holy shit moment. We do get the word blood and book here a lot. Remember me telling you about that SLS camera, by the way, with the stickman figure? There's a reason why I have it. This is the space. Let me show you the blood book first.
Wait, it
Oh
does?
my god.
Jesus.
Now that is amazing.
What's more interesting to me is his last line.
Yeah.
So for the right person of short life,
And
translated,
then you
cough and die right on the page.
Oh, how magical.
Yeah, so he also died at a pretty young age. I'm not going to tell you how old he was. But obviously, if you know the years of the Civil War, you know he was born in 1828. You can get a guesstimate. I'm just not going to give you the number.
Okay.
So the SLS camera. One night, somebody brought one of those big chunky monkey ones that you see on TV to my tour because everybody wants to test out their new equipment with me. So I didn't have one at the time, and we had a pretty much of a dud night, like all night long. It was pretty dry. I would say even lighter than what we've had here so far tonight. Like no terms were coming up for us at all. Anyway, I'm telling the history, and this guy gets a figure inside that gate right next to the monument. So for me, I need proof. So I start walking around to make sure we have a point of reference, and he can see me as a stick figure walking around. Everybody verifies it. I verified it the next day. But anyway, it's an 8-minute interaction. When I say interaction, Henry, can I read some of your poetry to these folks? Raise your right hand. We got a right hand.
That's cool.
Yeah, craziness. Damn, cops.
What is tonight on?
I don't know. It is crazy out there.
It's a
though.
crazy setup.
Well, it's probably going to be even worse next weekend because obviously getting in close to spring break. And Easter.
Yeah.
But anyway, the only way that this thing actually disappeared was because of the only female in the group actually came to this side of the gate and outstretched her hand and asked Henry to shake it. Henry, can you shake my hand? He was alive in the middle of the 1800s where it was probably disrespectful for a woman to offer her hand to be shaken. He disappeared. We never got him back.
Not Henry, can you shake my
Here's the
hand?
funny thing. This guy didn't know how to use his camera yet. He didn't know how to record it. We had to use my infrared camera over his shoulder to get the footage because I wasn't losing that kind of footage. That's when I started researching this LiDAR technology with Apple products, and that's why my SLS camera is a tablet. It works just as well as an Xbox 360 Connect camera, if not better. And it records in a much easier fashion. I tried to set up one of those crazy contraptions before. It's ridiculous, like a lot of steps. A lot of extra work, not to mention that crazy device you guys see on TV weighs probably 10 to 12 pounds. I already have 40. I don't need another 10 to 12. So with this space, I'm going to be looking for any kind of high EMF readings. I'm going to be walking through the grassy knolls. There's nobody in here. So I'd say this is a popular ghost tour stop, so we'll stick together. We'll make a few laps. I'll probably go into the grass a little bit. And you're going to obviously kind of keep track of what you're hearing. Nice slow movements out of you in here. And again, belly shots when the teams come in. Tourists love to come through here too, just because it's gorgeous in here. It's super creepy, but it's also gorgeous.
That too. It is super creepy.
Yeah.
Of all the history and the sneaking out the house and starting to get.
You guys just heard St. Michael's bells.
Yeah.
So normally when I'm doing the Estes method, I will ask Henry, the person blindfolded, what are you hearing right now? On the Ouija board, it spelled out the word bell, and then another person using a spirit box heard bells. So it was like, I was like, yeah, good stuff.
That's cool.
I love when that stuff occurs like that. We also have a very loud tour guide in here at the same time, and it was blindfolded because that's what she heard. And then when they left, it said, so silent. Like, it was those are the things you can't make.
You got anything?
No, not yet. It's staticky, but.
So she only got up to a 10.9 last night. A few nights before that, we had it all the way up to like 160, 170. And I had a few high readings, 16.8, 8.5, 10.7. So again, it's nothing to sneeze at. But again, there's some nights I come up in that little grassy knoll and it's zeros. And then we move around and we find that it's over there or in the back. Like, we find it all over the place. But I always come here first because this has been the most common. Anything crazy going on with yours?
Well, it's like 62.
It's usually just about the blue movements around. So again, I only pay attention to the dots if it goes crazy. Like, I just keep a side eye on it when I'm watching the video.
Okay.
Because I'm really just looking at the blue to see if it's going to start moving or changing.
Okay, I'll start looking for that a little bit more.
It'll just help you out when you're watching your video. My SLS camera caught something. You guys see that big tree, the big one across the road? It was somebody was sitting on the ground, leaned up against it, their back against it, knees up, holding a book. Like that was the formation that we had, and the legs were moving around like he was about to get up. Like probably about a minute interaction. We also, last night I caught something near that lamppost. I should have only caught a straight line for the lamppost itself, but we had a full figure standing right next to it. So,
That's pretty neat.
again, I don't hide this footage. It's
Yeah.
all up there for speculation.
Okay, cool.
And with the SLS, I'm still learning. It could have been picking up the bushes in the background, but it was in the form of a person. Normally, if it's a jumbled, tree or bush, it looks jumbled like a tree or a bush. You know what I mean? If I have a head, shoulders, arms, and legs,
Yeah.
Love your shoes, by the way. My wife actually has a whole collection of them.
Oh wait, no, me too. I'm obsessed with Converse.
Jesus
Then please
Christ.
shake your head. I'm obsessed with Converse, actually.
When my wife and I met, she's disabled,
Yeah.
and she has to wear braces to walk. So she had like these giant, ugly Nikes on
Yeah.
because that's all she could fit her
Yeah.
brace into. And I introduced her to those,
Yeah.
and she became obsessed
Really?
because now she can wear color. And you know what I mean?
No, they have so many cool Converse.
Well, she doesn't wear them so much anymore because
Yeah.
she now works at a vet office,
Oh,
so
okay.
she needs a little bit more support
Yeah.
for her braces. So she wears almost like a nursing shoe.
Okay.
But she still has the collection for
Yeah.
her off days or whatever. But yeah, she has a whole collection. I've even had a couple of them custom designed for Christmas.
She's
that kind
got
of
some
thing.
custom ones, and I'm in love.
So I
Very
actually
nice.
bought her like a steampunk outfit one day, like the vest,
Yeah.
a nice skirt to go along with it, and then of course the brown and
Yeah.
tan shoe.
That's cute.
And I had they let you design everything all the way down to the eyelets, the sole, everything.
Yep.
So the color scheme you can mix around with. So I made them. They were highlighted with some black, but it was mainly like a dark brown with a light tan color around it, so it matched that whole
Yeah.
steampunk look.
That's so
So-
adorable.
It's going crazy over here.
There you go.
Just like going back and forth. But
But
was-
it will move.
okay.
Like it will bounce like crazy. It's about those temperatures though. So average temp for us is going to be about 66 to 68 degrees.
I was hoping maybe someone was walking over there.
Oh.
But again, you would see it if it was a full figure. Like it would be a person shape.
Okay.
I mean, just picture like one of us in view,
Mhm.
but I would be blue, and I would look like this. Like that's basically
Like
how it
the
looks.
Finding Bigfoot thing.
Yeah, exactly.
When's my birthday? September 30th.
I do have the word January that showed up on my word list. I don't know if it's relevant. I'm
Okay.
gonna dive in because honestly, I want to say that his wife passed away in January. I don't know that for certain, so I
Yeah.
didn't want to spout it off
Oh,
until I
that'd be
researched it.
cool.
But you just mentioned birthday, and I'm like,
Yeah. And they asked when's my birthday. When
It
is
said, "When's your birthday?"
Mm-hmm. I'm saying, it said, when's your birthday?
That's a
so I
phrase.
said September 30th. Like, no, when is your birthday?
Yeah, that's weird. Did ask that? Yeah.
It's just two DJs talking. That's what we want. When's your birthday? I know Henry's birthday because it's the same as my ex-wife.
Am I hot or?
That's the joke I made. I normally at the beginning, that's the demo I do because when I get a funny group, I need a group that like is gonna have fun. So in order for me to get a feel for them, I usually say, "Look, everybody, I'm the hottest thing inside the frame." You know what I mean? And then like whoever I hand it to, they're like, "But you have a cold heart." You know, I'm like, "Yeah, good job." Like I haven't heard that one before.
This is awesome.
People is coming in. All right, we're gonna go to the back and go around so that way we can see what the hell we're doing.
Cool.
Isn't it great when you get to sneak around the city?
Yeah, it makes it more fun.